This episode of the Cult Pop Show podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene at the end of each episode, or join us for our monthly movie club Zoom call where we discuss a film together, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopshow.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cult Pop Show podcast. This episode is Patreon Sample Pack Volume 3. It is just AJ here up in the intro to let you know what's going on. This is our third sort of sample pack we've done where we give you a taste of what you can get, the exclusive content that you can get over on our Patreon. The first time we did this was like a year and a half ago, and the second time we did this was 2 weeks ago. So we're in a bit of a break, so we're trying to space out the podcasts that aren't just recycled content. And baby, you got recycled content week. But if you haven't heard of the Cult Pop Show Patreon before, this is the kind of stuff you can get if you sign up to it over at patreon.com/cultpopshow. You're going to hear 2 of our exclusive podcasts today. One is called Film Franchise Follow-Ups, where we look at an extra piece of media that maybe has come out since we covered a certain franchise, or it always existed but wasn't a movie, that sort of thing. We're also going to play you an episode of generic_movie_podcast.exe, which is a podcast where we watch a movie that is chosen by our patrons. So if you want to get in on this, then go over to patreon.com/cultpopshow and sign up to any of the tiers. These specific podcasts are rewards on the cult member tier, which is $5 a month, and the cult leader tier, which is $10 a month. So go over there and sign up today and check out probably 100 other episodes just like this. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, actually. But, 2 a month for 3 years, that's 3/4 of the way to 100. I don't know. Someone should count how many there are for us. But if you go over there and sign up today, you get to listen to all sorts of episodes just like this. So the Film Franchise Follow-Ups you're going to listen to today is for High School Musical, the series, which is the Disney Plus exclusive spin-off sequel series to High School Musical. So this is a podcast we recorded about a year ago where we talk about High School Musical, the series. We run down what happens in it. We talk about who's who, whether or not we think it's good. So here is High School Musical, the series. Hey patrons, and welcome to the first episode of Film Franchise Follow-Ups of the mother flippin' decade. It's 2020, we're doing away with potty mouths, we're not swearing anymore, Richard.
Yeah, I just choked on my own rage at having
wow.
I was gonna come out with like a tirade of profanity, and then it got caught in my throat.
Nah, dude, it's 2020. It's time to leave foul language in the past, I think. And, it's not censoring yourself if you don't want to say it. Yeah.
Well, I do. Oh, God, I love cussing.
Yeah, well, not anymore. Got to find something else to love. Perhaps compliments and polite phrases.
Have you got any?
Thank you.
For what?
That's just a polite phrase.
Oh, yes.
Your hair is looking nice today?
No, it's not.
Well, I wasn't. All right. So this is
I didn't know we'd be doing lies in 2020.
It's not lies if you believe it. You just got to make yourself believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, as you guys know, this is our $5 tier podcast where we return to a franchise of old, one that we've covered on the mother podcast being Film Franchise Fortnights. And we go back and we find, I don't know, maybe another movie that has been released since we covered it, or a video game, or a TV show in this case. And this episode, we're going to be talking about High School Musical, the series, which is the Disney Plus exclusive High School Musical spin-off TV series, which I will admit, Richard, I was actually looking pretty forward to. When the trailer dropped, I was like, this looks pretty interesting. What a weird idea, because Richard, you hear they're doing a High School Musical TV show, you think, okay, so it'll be the same kind of story structure to High School Musical. But Richard, what is different about High School Musical, the musical series?
High School Musical, the series, takes place in our world, where the High School Musical series of films are a popular film trilogy with a little-known spin-off featuring Sharpay.
It's never mentioned. It's never mentioned in the series.
And so it's set at the high school where High School Musical was filmed. So these people are going to a high school knowing that they shot a famous film there, and then they get a new drama teacher who is shocked to learn that they've never put on a production of High School Musical, the musical, and so they put one on. And it's shot in that kind of mockumentary, Modern Family, Parks and Rec sort of style.
And there'll be spoilers for this show if you haven't seen it, because we're probably not going to, it's 2020, we're not censoring ourselves. And I don't know if I'd say I was disappointed, but it is worth noting that it is more like that Modern Family kind of thing, where it's not really that they're making a documentary there.
So they have a way to lazily have characters tell the camera how they're feeling.
Yeah. It's they have asides, as they call them in drama class, which serve as a narrative device. It's not really that they're doing a documentary, which was really hammered home when we see one of the characters have a dream sequence in one of the later episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, how would they film this in a documentary?
Yeah.
So, I guess another notable thing about this series is that it's very much, I feel, but I'm an old man now, I feel it's a really honest and accurate depiction of like Zoomer generation, like the kids in high school at the moment. There might be a few things that are like, oh, kids would never say that, but for the most part,
I think it's probably more like that. I would think that the best representation of people currently in high school, there's two actually. One is 8th grade and the other is American Vandal.
Yeah, and this is sort of, totally. This is
the version of today's teens that parents wish their kids were.
For sure, but that being said, High School Musical, the series, isn't completely squeaky clean, which is shocking because it's a spin-off to a very squeaky clean series of films, and also it's still Disney. But like I know this is going to sound mild, but hey, it's 2020 and we're not swearing. Like they bleep out shit in the first episode.
Yeah.
But that's still significant.
You're like, this thing, like, it's not squeaky clean, like, better not show your parents that you're like kissing someone, or that you're using the L word. Love.
Lesbians, of which there are 2 lesbians in this series. One of the main characters, she has 2 mums.
The main character.
The main character. There's a couple of gay guys in it, one of whom plays Sharpay, so it sort of, has flashes of, I guess, gender conversation in it. And in dramatic contrast to other Disney properties, such as The Rise of Skywalker, I thought it was quite tasteful that, like, the characters are inarguably gay, like, they get together and you see them, kiss each other and stuff, and it's like, I can't help but wonder, like,
the way
why...
your face, like, because you were thinking, I thought you were just going to be like, and it's like, ooh.
No, not at all. It's awesome. And I don't know, it's annoying to know that they're kind of doing really nice representation of LGBT culture on their streaming service, and yet they're kind of dropping the ball in their major motion pictures. And I wonder if they use Disney Plus as maybe like a proving ground for this kind of stuff. Because what the most interesting thing about this show, Richard, and I'll say this up top, I wouldn't say I particularly enjoyed this show. I think it has a lot of flaws. But I didn't particularly enjoy most of the High School Musical movies either, so whatever. But what is interesting about it, and what I've never seen another piece of media do, is use another piece of media as such a heavy, strong backdrop. Like, people talk about the High School Musical movies in the series all the time, like it's, the Bible, like it's the legends of old. They're constantly referencing it in a way that I was like, this is real interesting. I think this is a very interesting show. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, once you find out the premise and you go, oh, that sounds fun, and then the first episode has a couple of fun little things, I got over it pretty quick. It just becomes Riverdale, like that kind of Zoomer, attractive, like, teenagers complaining about, love and shit, and
it feels closer to like Disney Channel. TV shows.
Sure, but I mean, like, that's
Riverdale.
just Riverdale's my go-to example of just rich white kid relationship drama, and I know they're not all white as well.
It's a pretty diverse cast.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say
the four characters on the poster.
They meet the 2020 bare minimum.
Well, what do you want? What's the?
I don't know. It's
Where's
just such
the
a
healthy middle ground here?
It has the potential to be this like quite a cool idea, and then it just becomes like so paint by numbers, and then with just High School Musical as the backdrop.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Because the thing you mentioned about like Sharpay is a guy.
Mm.
I don't remember that character's name at all. He's like in the first episode. They say, "Oh, you're ready for Ryan?" And he goes, "No, I want to play Sharpay," and they go, "Oh, wow!" And then he's not seen again until like episode 8, when you're like, "Oh, he is still playing Sharpay. That's cool." And he's the most talented person in the cast as well.
Yeah, no, you're right, and as I say, it's not perfect, and I thought it was interesting that kind of the character drama, which I actually thought was pretty compelling, at least initially. I'll say this, I think the first half of the show is a lot better than the second half of the show.
Yeah, well, the last 2 episodes are just the show, which is weird.
Yeah. But so the main kind of character drama is the main characters' names are Nene and what's the guy's name?
Josh and EJ?
No, Ricky and Nene.
Oh, I think Josh is the actor's name.
Oh, okay. And so their kind of main central drama is they used to be dating, but she told him that she loves him and he couldn't say it back. And then they had a break. And then over summer camp, she started dating a guy named EJ. And so Ricky joins the musical as a way to try and rekindle his relationship with Nene. And I was like, yeah, fine. That's I don't have any problem. That's a good character drama, and actually remind that there are flashes of like Scrubs in this show. I thought, particularly in that the central character is kind of morally ambiguous for a lot of it, and doesn't make a lot of very likable protagonist decisions. I thought, but he's imperfect, and I thought it was cool. And he gets the part of Troy, and she gets Gabriella, and you go, oh, so now it's going to be all about like how they balance their destroyed relationship while playing two characters who are falling in love, and it like never goes into that. You never see them rehearsing as Troy and Gabriella. It never plays with what you would think would be the central kind of concept, the conceit of their relationship. You never really see that throughout the show. In fact, you don't actually see a lot of rehearsing, and it tends to favor the inter-character drama, which isn't bad. I didn't think the drama between the sort of 4 to 5 main characters and the various love triangles that develop. I thought they were underdeveloped in the end, but I didn't dislike them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just found myself so not caring the whole time.
Oh yeah, it's not for us. This is a show
that's the thing. It's not for us. But but I was hoping it would be, because I would say I'm a fan of the original series. And so there's like a behind the scenes High School Musical, the musical, the series, the special. And it's like all the main cast being like, oh my god, like when I was growing up, I was obsessed with High School Musical. And then one of them's like, oh, I won tickets to the premiere of the third one, and it's like age 5 at the premiere of the third one, and it's like fucking hell. And yeah, maybe I guess the show just made me feel old, and maybe that just made me angry. Maybe I'm just a bitter old man.
Yeah,
my best years are behind me.
I think the worst things about this show is that it delves like in what I assume is like a stretch to reach their 10 episode order. It goes to there's some weird drama that they kind of have to manufacture, like real world drama, because for the most of it it's like this is the real world. You know, High School Musical's the movie, but then like more dramatic things happen in the TV
like
show.
it should have been focused on like stuff like that doesn't happen in real life, you know?
Yeah. So the two big things. At one point, they accidentally burned down half the school. They burned down the drama department by accident. And I was like, this is stupid. And then it's nowhere near earned by what happens next. Like, it just doesn't really affect the plot. But the thing
they go and rehearse somewhere else for an episode, and they go, oh, you're allowed back in the school. And it's like,
yeah. The thing that I was like, I'm not enjoying this, is that it's revealed about halfway through the show that the drama teacher, who's a main character in the series,
so
she's actually not really a teacher, and she kind of flubbed her way into landing a position in the school staff because she is like a failed dramatic actress and wants her chance to shine again, and she sees this as her second chance, and this gets found out, and the way that she keeps her job is that the students who are so enamored with a teacher who, frankly, at this point in the series, you haven't really seen her do enough to earn the unbridled love of her drama class.
Yeah, for sure. She's just kind of annoying. She's just a discount Kristen Chenoweth.
Yes, yeah, but maybe that's the point. Maybe that's her character. She does make a reference to the fact that she's a Glinda at one point.
Yeah.
She was played by Kristen Chenoweth, right?
I'm surprised you made the reference.
Oh, thanks, dude. And the way that she keeps her job is during like the PTA meeting where they're kind of judging her. All the students come in and do a song and dance number, and the board are like, well, the students love her, we'd best keep her. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, the board, who includes the girl who loves to pop and lock from the original High School Musical.
Wow.
One of 2 cameos from original stars. And midway, because we watched the episode about the same time, and I was like, oh, it's that girl from the original. And I was like, what's the bet that either Chad or Ryan is going to have? Like, they'll make a big deal about someone from the original appearing, and it will be Chad or Ryan. And it was Ryan. And then in the behind the scenes thing, Chad shows up as well.
I thought Lucas Grabeel, Ryan's cameo was great. I thought.
It was great. He although I did find it so weird because I mean, yeah, people age, whatever, but he looks exactly like this guy that I studied with, who's like the weirdest, like the katana fedora kid, you know, and he looks like exactly like him, and I saw him in the background of a shot in the special, and I had to do a double take even though I knew it was him. So that did kind of weird me out a little bit. But yeah, I love Luke, and he in the behind the scenes thing, he goes, hi, I'm Lucas Grabeel, and it's a hard A. So
wow, it was always a hard A.
What did you think of the performances? I want to talk about.
So I thought the acting of the characters in the real world of the series was fine. Like it seems not necessarily grounded, but it's a slightly hyper realized TV show. I didn't think the characters were very good actors, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. So there's like the final 2 episodes when they're performing the musical, and Nene, the main character, keeps on like just pausing in the middle of it to look at somewhat like an admissions officer for the big like school, and then spoiler alert, at the end of it is like, I want to offer you a place, you start next month, which doesn't fucking happen in real life. And then it's like, no, you didn't do a good job. And I don't think I feel like you're going to disagree with me, but I don't think Nene was very good in the whole series. I don't think other than the guy playing Sharpay, I don't think any of them had particularly good singing voices as well. Like there was, especially during when they did Breaking Free during the actual show, it's like so auto-tuned. Although the woman the girl who plays the teacher in the musical, she was quite good. She's quite a good singer.
Yeah. I agree that they're not the thing about the show that they put on is like, I don't know about you, Richard, but I get fucking anxious. Sorry, I'm going to rewind there. I get flippin' anxious watching high school productions and like seeing people screw up, and I hate it in TV shows and movies where they have a production like a play and there's just so many things in it which in real life would make you just go like, oh, it's so cringy and awkward, and like because it's a TV show they have to build drama. So like there's one part where the characters an actor replaces another actor for the character, and they like hold their mic so the audience can't hear them, and they're like, where's Ricky, what's happened? And it's like, oh my god, stop it. Like, you're on stage, perform.
Yeah, it's because like Ricky leaves halfway through because EJ is his understudy to play Troy, and he's playing Chad. So they're like, again, you get what could be a fun dynamic of like these two mortal enemies having to play best friends.
Yeah.
And EJ wants to take down Ricky so he can take over the role of Troy.
And he's also, they also are both in love with Nene, or both dated Nene.
And then, the old boyfriend and the new boyfriend. So, and then Ricky messes up in the first half, and he's like, dude, I don't want to put Nene off, you have to go on, and he doesn't tell her this, and it's like, that's gonna throw her off. Clearly the fact that you've fucking that you've
flippin' no
fuck
oh god damn it, no.
The fact that you've just walked out and she has no idea she's coming on stage to do Also, funny thing, and there's like, during the show, you see like some highlights of the movie of them performing it. And then there's one bit where Gabriella's walking with her friend who goes like, oh, unless you know how to speak cheerleader, like, isn't Troy like the super hottie bomb? And it cuts just before Nene has a chance to deliver the immortal line, I guess I don't know how to speak cheerleader, which if you remember from our live podcast, is one of my least favorite line deliveries in all of cinema history.
Yeah.
So maybe she could have redeemed it, but
and yet
she wasn't very good, so I doubt she would have been able to just do that one line well.
Yeah. All right. Well, what did you think of the original songs that appear in the series? And they're always diegetic. They're always the characters are performing an original song to someone else, which is a cool way to make sure that it's still like this a slightly more grounded reality than the films itself.
The fact that they like,
they're overproduced for someone singing them in real time.
Yeah, they're overproduced, and they're also just like, I guess I don't know. I have hung out with musical theatre kids, and that is what they do.
I like some of them. There's one at the first original song you hear is when Nene tells Ricky that she loves him, and it's called like, I Think I Kinda You Know.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a sweet song.
Yeah, that's nice. And that was very like realistic that like this quirky girl would write a song on a ukulele for her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like the original songs were like, they were all cute, but none of them stuck in my head longer than the length of the song. Other than I think you kind of because they repeat that a few times.
Yeah. The drama teacher makes the student who's playing Mrs. What's her name?
I want to say Danforth, but that's Chad's last name.
Dan.
Because she goes, Mr. Danforth.
Mrs. Darbus, the teacher in High School Musical. So the student playing the teacher in High School Musical, the drama teacher in real life tells that student she wants her to do an original ballad about how Miss Darbus is like a failed it's like a parallel for the drama teacher's actual life. But it's like so needed. It's not needed in the story of High School Musical, and it's a cool song. Again, it's an original song that's kind of neat, but it's almost like making this 2-dimensional character needlessly a 3-dimensional character, so that you need to like see her get closure. And we know in the film that she doesn't get closure because she's like a background character. So this is just me critiquing the fictional drama teacher's storytelling decisions.
I also another bad actor in this series so there's like the rival teacher who's he's like the tech teacher.
He has a robotics club.
Yeah, but like it just sounds like he's putting on a voice the whole time. Like, he walks into a room, he's like, "Hello, everyone. I don't care about your silly musicals."
But he does in the end. In the end, he saves the day at the tech test.
But it's like, you can see him, like, pushing his neck back to, like, make his voice sound deeper. Yeah. I don't know. They're making a season 2.
Yeah, they are making a season 2, which is important because also, like The Rise of Skywalker, at the end, one of the characters who you think has moved away turns up again, and then one of the characters is like, "Oh, but I don't want you to have to leave. Maybe there's a way. And she's like, "What are you thinking?" And then you don't find out, which presumably will be covered in season 2. Which, God, what could she be thinking?
Yeah. What are you thinking? Skywalker.
like what I was more referring to the Finn not telling Rey what he wanted to tell her. But like, what possible solution to your 16-year-old friend moving away with their family could you come up with? Like, just live with me. Your parents will be fine with it. We'll all move.
Yeah,
we'll all move.
You know that'll be it.
Yeah. Okay, one thing that hit me harder than I thought it would in this series. Because I was like, I think the thing I was most invested in this series, or at least most intrigued by, was Nene and Ricky's mending relationship. And in the last episode, after they you do such a stellar job of the stage production, are they only doing it once? Are they only doing...
Well, that's the thing, because they talk about, like, the way they do it, it's so, like, final and everything like that. And then she's like, "Here, you start in a month." But it's like they keep referring to it as opening night, not, like, the big performance.
Yeah,
so it's
and they have, like, a party the night that it finishes. So, presumably, they're only doing one night, which isn't, it's a high school drama. But after all that, they kind of meet backstage, and it's clear that, you know, their relationship has been somewhat rekindled, but it's just kind of awkward, and he doesn't want to say anything. And then as she leaves, and he just goes, "I love you," and I thought it was a very sweet scene, Richard, where he tells her he loves
it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it felt like it's the first time in a long time I've felt like a unresolved sexual tension release that was so satisfying. Sexy. You know, like, it was cool to see them tell each other they love each other, and it all work out in the end. Until she gets offered a space at the drama school in a month. Complications. No.
The actor, it's real funny that the guy that plays Ricky always looks like he hasn't had a good night's sleep. Like, his eye, he looks like he's been crying in every scene, and I'll be like, "Wait, have I not been, has he been crying? I wasn't paying attention." And then even, like, behind the scenes, and he's, like, talking to the camera about, like, how amazing it is to be in the show, and I was like, is he crying about this, or is it just his eyes? And
maybe we will never know.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's
the
a
show's
season 2.
fine.
Do you know that the guy who plays Ricky is 19 and the girl who plays Nene is 16? And they kiss. And I don't know about you, but when I was 19, 16-year-olds were off limits.
16-year-olds would not kiss me.
EJ, who's her other boyfriend in the series, is also, I think he's like 21.
He looks fucking older than everyone else.
This is like the forbidden... Like, I don't know. I guess is that acceptable generally? That it doesn't matter how old the actors are. And
yeah, I don't know.
Just a thought. Just an interesting thing about it. Look, I'll check out the first episode of season 2.
Well, we'll probably watch the whole thing for this, won't we?
Will we?
I don't know. Might we? Who knows?
I don't know.
Stay tuned to find out. Will we even have a Patreon then? Will we even have a podcast?
It comes out like in a month, and we're like, well, we're not sure. We don't know. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know if I have much else to say about it. I don't know. Go check it out if you want. I wouldn't wholly not recommend it.
Yeah, it's a watch it if you want. Like,
Yeah. And I think it serves a purpose. And as I said at the start, I think it's a very interesting idea and a concept that I haven't seen done before. And there are parts where I was like, I like this more than the movies, but I don't like the movies that much. And then overall, I feel like probably not. I'll be there for when they finally convince Zac Efron to
oh my god,
to make a cameo. Which isn't actually that. I feel like that's not that out of reach. Neither or Vanessa Hudgens you could easily get.
Yeah, no, I feel like Zac Efron wouldn't do it. He's like, put his Disney days behind him.
Yeah.
Corbin Blue, Chad, is just waiting for that phone call.
He's waiting for it. Yeah, he'll be in season 2.
Who else?
The
Mrs. Davis.
Oh, is anyone keeping tabs on her at all?
Is she alright?
Is she okay? Can someone please call the real Mrs. Davis?
Could she please stand up?
Yeah, alright. Well, yeah, I would say I enjoyed parts of it. It's a very interesting concept for a show. And if you are really in love with High School Musical, it's absolutely worth your time.
The other weird thing, we were talking about like having to stretch out to its 10 episode count. It's like the first couple episodes like 38 minutes, and then the last like 3 episodes are all like 25.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
Because I was like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm going to start it, and then I was like, fuck this, I'm not watching like 38 minutes.
Welcome to the world of streaming duration times. It don't matter.
Nobody wanna see us together, but it don't matter, no.
Because I've got you, Richard. And we're all in this together, Richard.
Yeah, we are.
All of us. All
Everyone.
2 of us.
What team?
This team.
What team?
Cult Popture.
What team?
Film franchise follow-ups.
Get your head in the game.
Get your head in... When they played Get Your Head in the Game in the actual stage production in the series, I was like, I don't remember anything else other than Get Your Head in the Game.
Yeah.
I was like, what other lyrics are in this song? Anyway, hey, you alright?
Yeah,
you just spilled some water.
Down my front.
Wow.
I'm not wearing any clothes at the moment. And yeah, this water had been in the fridge, and it spilled down me, and it was cold.
Did it get on your penis? Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for your donations, and we will see you. For those of you on the $10 tier, we'll see you in a couple of days for our generic movie podcast episode. So goodbye.
Bye. Oh, do we know what we're doing for next film franchise follow-ups?
No.
Lilo and Stitch, the series. Maybe.
For real?
I don't know.
I feel like with everything we've got planned ahead, it might be a bit much to watch an entire series.
Yeah, fuck that. Let's not do that.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our film franchise follow-ups on High School Musical, the series. Let us know if you liked the series or if you're going to... I think there's a second season coming out. There's definitely a Christmas special I didn't watch. So all this stuff sort of exists now. Olivia Rodrigo's pretty big at the moment because her song is... sort of tailor-made for... it's like the perfect song for a 17-year-old demographic, I guess. So, good on her. Next, you're going to listen to an episode of generic_movie_podcast.exe where we talk about a 2007 film called Walk Hard, The Dewey Cox Story, which you may have heard. It is essentially a parody of musical biopics. And what's interesting about this is you will hear Richard make comparisons between this movie and Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, not the song, which is maybe not the newest take you've ever heard, but when we recorded this, it was before Patrick Willems made his video about this very subject and made that very same point. So that's, we got there first. And so here is an episode of Generic Movie Podcast, GMP, or its much longer title that I'm not going to say again, where we talk about Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
What happened to your arm?
Oh, yeah, I burnt it. Look at that.
Because I saw the photo. You sent me a photo the other day and you're like, oh, I'm Freddy Krueger or something like that. And I was like, it looks like you've been attacked by leeches.
No, it's real bad. I've got a L-shaped blister on my arm.
Looks like a J from where I'm standing.
That's true. It's because it's reversed. And a bunch of other marks up my arm because I was cooking. I've just moved into a new flat, and the only fry pan we have is like a wok, so it's not even a fry pan.
And you wouldn't have much experience using one of those.
No, because I was cooking some steak and I put like a knob of butter in the wok, and then it sizzled away until it had pulled at the bottom, and then I tossed the steak in and it went like, and I was like, ah! And
that's steak in a wok, that's interesting.
That's my villain origin story. It real hurt for a bit.
Did you run under cold water for like half an hour?
No, I ran under cold water for about 20 seconds.
Because that's what you're supposed to do it for fucking ages.
You're supposed to do it for ages or else it hurts heaps, and it hurt heaps. Because then after I ate dinner, I immediately went for a walk, and you're also not supposed to really get like the open air on it because that's what makes it hurt. And then I was driving around with my friends all night and I ended up with like a frozen banana that I just like painted my arm with, and then the frozen banana stopped being frozen. And then I put some aloe vera on it, and that didn't really work. And then I put frozen peas on it, and that was all right. And then I wrapped wet toilet paper around my arm to keep the oxygen from reaching
clean toilet paper.
Yeah.
Oh, phew.
And that did all right. And then I got drunk, and it stopped hurting.
Nice.
I didn't get drunk because of the sore arm. I was already planning on getting drunk.
I like how this started as a conversation and ended as like a production.
Right.
Like it started very much like, oh yeah, no, I burned myself. And what actually happened was
the true story of AJ's arm burns.
All right, well, we're not here to talk about AJ's arm burns. We're here to talk about a movie. This is welcome to generic_movie_podcast.exe.
Hello.
We don't need to tell you that because you are our patrons.
You guys haphazardly voted earlier today for us to watch this movie. And we watched it, and here we are to talk about it and maybe even release it today.
Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this film came out in 2007. I think it may have come out in 2008 here because it's like came out the last week of 2007 and then got a January release in quite a few centres, probably New Zealand. But so it was directed by Jake Kasdan. Do you recognise that name?
Is he of Lawrence Kasdan fame?
He is. He's Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote a bunch of Star Wars. It's his son. And he also directed
the best one and the worst one.
Yeah. He also directed Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, definitely can see those trademarks, director trademarks.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's got an interesting career. Orange County was one of his early films. Then did Walk Hard. Bad Teacher was his next film after Walk Hard.
Ooh.
And then Sex Tape after that.
Wow.
And then Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
You know what though? Because when we talked about Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle on one of the podcasts recently, and I talked about how it was an acting exercise, and it's basically like you take a renowned actor and see what it looks like when they play a completely different character.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say the same thing about Walk Hard. So
Ooh.
knowing they're the same director is real interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you? Well, okay, we'll go over just a bit about it. So it's basically it's essentially a musical biopic for a fictional musician, and yeah, so it stars John C. Reilly as Dewey Cox, and it's got a pretty good cast. So you've got Kristen Wiig, esteemed character actress Margot Martindale, Jenna Fisher. That's a BoJack Horseman reference. I don't know if you'd get that.
I don't.
She guest stars in like every season, and she's always referred to as esteemed character actress Margot Martindale. Jenna Fisher plays Darlene. Tim Meadows, Chris Parnell, Matt Besser make up the band. Jonah Hill has a little uncredited cameo. Craig Robinson, Harold Ramis, Simon Helberg, Martin Starr, Ed Helms, Jack McBrayer, Nat Faxon is the first voice you hear in the film is Alpho from Disenchantment.
You've also got Jack Black.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of people. One of the jokes in this film is you get very strange castings for celebrity cameos.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got Elvis Presley is played by Jack White.
Which is just weird in general because Jack White isn't even known for his acting ability. You mentioned Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Justin Long, and Jason Schwartzman play the Beatles. And they're all actually uncredited in the film, interestingly as well. Does that mean they didn't get paid?
No, it just means that they're not officially part of it. That's they can't use that to try and sell the film essentially. And Frankie Muniz plays Buddy Holly as the other big one. You also have a few celebrities appearing as themselves. You got the Temptations make an appearance, Eddie Vedder, Jackson Brown, Jewel, and Ghostface Killer, Lyle Lovett. And also, if you watch the uncut version, the unrated version, there's Cheryl Tiegs makes a cameo.
It's a big cast and a very expensive cast for a movie that I would say not a lot of people know about.
Yeah, it's considered a box office bomb. Made $20 million on a $35 million budget.
Yeah, because I knew of this movie for so long. All I knew about this movie was like the basic premise. I thought it was like just a straight up Walk the Line parody, which it's not that. And I didn't watch it until you and I started flirting together.
Yeah.
And you were like, it's one of my favorite movies. And I watched it then, and I get it. It's good.
Yeah, this is legitimately one of my favorite movies. And I was thinking about this today that in terms of films I've seen the most times, this could actually be in like the top 3.
Wow.
Like 3 to 5. Like since I've been like conscious of watching movies, so there's movies I probably watched on repeat when I was a baby and don't remember or whatever. But like Walk Hard, Back to the Future, Hot Fuzz, and I guess like Toy Story as well would be like the films that they're like my happy place films, that you can just put on and you always feel like watching them. And the also thing about this movie is it goes by really quickly, I find.
Yeah, I agree. You're expecting it to, because it's like someone's life in a very Forrest Gumpian kind of way. You kind of expect it to be real long, but it's not really.
Yeah, the one interesting thing. So this film's 96 minutes, and there is what's referred to as the unbearably long self-indulgent director's cut, which so I had this on DVD for many years, and I had it on Blu-ray. I have it on Blu-ray now, but I always thought the DVD had like an unrated version or something like that. And so for years I watched that, and it was like, oh, this is different from the theatrical version, which I did see this film in the theater as well. I'm like, one of those.
Oh, how'd you know you wanted to see it?
Actually, we're talking about that because just today I was like, fuck, I actually remember like my whole day that I went to go see Walk Hard. But anyway, so I watched this about 3 months ago because I found out Jess had never seen it, and I was like, we're watching it tonight. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, we'll watch the unrated version. So I went on the Blu-ray and went to the like unbearably long director's cut. And there was like this film I've seen like a dozen times just had like half an hour of stuff I've never seen before in it.
Wow.
And so like I thought I'd always been watching the director's cut, but I just must have never actually seen it because there was so much stuff in it. I was like, I don't remember this at all. If you're out there and you're like, oh man, I love this movie, I actually wouldn't recommend the director's cut. It doesn't really improve anything. There's one thing that I was like, that's really interesting that's in there. Near the end of the film, when Dewey and his band are kind of breaking up, and Chris Parnell's character, Matt Bess's character, is like, oh, you slept with my wife, and then Chris Parnell's like, you slept with me too. And him sleeping with Chris Parnell is actually in the extended cut. And it's interesting they kept that joke in but got rid of the
because it works without seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's funnier without it. But yeah, so I was thinking about this today, and it was I had this moment where I realized, like, I remember what shirt I was wearing that day.
What was it?
But it was a Ramones shirt that said "Hey ho, let's go" on the back. And but I remember this because I was like meeting up with a girl at the mall. And so I would have been like 14, just about to turn 15. And I was meeting up with this girl, and she was quite experienced, and I was very nervous. And so we met up, but I was like with the guys, and she was like going to hang out with us. And then I kind of got too scared, and she sort of just like followed us around the mall. And then we went to the movies, and then she was like texting me during the movie. But I remember my shirt said "Hey ho, let's go" on the back because she thought it was a dig at her. So it's just the opening line from Blitzkrieg Bop.
Oh my gosh.
And then I remember
imagine you planning your outfit around that. Like, I'm going to wear my "Hey ho" shirt to call her a hoe.
But yeah, so I went with this group of guys. It was actually the same guys that I went to see High School Musical 3 with 3 times. And we saw this movie, and at the end of it, one of them turned to me and was like, because it ends with the big performance that sums up Dewey Cox's entire life, and then it flashes up and said Dewey died 3 minutes after this performance, and that says Dewey Cox 1939 to 2007 or something like that, or 1936 to 2007. And at the end of the film, one of my friends turned to me and was like, "Oh, did that actually happen?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Did he actually die like right after that performance?" And I was like, "None of this actually happened." Like,
he got forgotten silvered.
Yeah. Like the end of the film, that's the one thing that he took issue with. Was like, that's a bit unlikely that he died 3 minutes later. So we were talking before the podcast about how this is kind of a hard film to discuss because it's like, it's just real fun to quote, but how much is there actually to say about it? So I do want to, don't want to discount that at all. And so I would like to hear, like, what are your favorite jokes and bits of the film?
Well, I think it's important, if you haven't seen it, it's important to understand the tone of comedy it is, because it's not like a grounded comedy. It's more like it's almost like an SNL sketch. Like there's a lot of ridiculousness in it, akin to something you'd see in like, it's not quite as wild as something like Scary Movie, but it's not grounded either. Like, because Dewey Cox's character is a parody of each time era that he lives through, basically. Yeah. Like, he has a Bob Dylan phase and stuff. So with that in mind, there's jokes in it like, when you see him as a kid and he's with his brother and they're walking around, and his brother, as kids, his brother's talking about how he's so excited about how he's going to live such a long life and that he's going to accomplish so much in his life without dying prematurely. And then, of course, he dies prematurely, right? So you see it coming because it's a musical biopic, and that's what happens in musical biopics. Yeah. But the line that real got me this time was when Dewey Cox's band is being introduced when he's 14 at his high school talent show or something. The guy comes out, the like principal or whatever comes out, he goes, "Good evening, ladies and germs," and then it like pans over the crowd and everyone's cracking up at him saying germs instead of gentlemen, and he's like, "All right." What does he say? It's like, I know. So I really love that brand of humor in this, where it's like, it's something, someone will do something that's not funny, or not how you would react to it, and then someone will react in the opposite way of what you're expecting, which is kind of what. Another example of that is when so the record execs in the 50s are 3 like Hasidic Jews, and they take him into the recording booth, and he's recording That's Amore, and it's like a adequate cover of That's Amore, right? There's nothing really that wrong with it.
It's cheesy.
Yeah, and the guy recording it is like, "This is the worst thing I've ever heard," and he stops him and he's like, "You have ruined." He's like, "You've ruined
You've
that
shaken
Samore.
my faith in the Jewish people."
You've shaken my faith in the Jewish people," which I thought was so funny. Because it's stuff like that. Where
Yes,
it's like
I love the line that Dewey Cox says in response to that. He's like, "I'd like nothing more than to restore your faith in Judaism."
Yeah, it's stuff like that is all through it. Like very exact. Like he marries Kristen Wiig when he's 14 and she's 12, and by the end of the film, he just somehow has like 30 children that he's fathered to all these different women, and he like tries to reconnect with all of them. So it's very ridiculous. So stuff like that.
Yeah,
it gets real funny when it's like being purposefully obtuse and purposely like self-parody.
Yeah, I love the TV tropes refers to it as the as you know trope, where people will just like say things that they already know, like when they meet the Beatles, and it's like, it reminds me of when us, the Beatles, the four Beatles, yes, from Liverpool, yes, we are from Liverpool.
And then at the end of the scene, Paul Rudd, who's playing Paul McCartney, just quietly is like, da 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 da, because we are the Beatles. It's like this. It's like the whole thing feels like a play that your class, some kids in your class would put on at the school camp, because they don't have time to convince you that they're the Beatles, so they just say they are for comedic effect.
Yeah. What else? Yeah. Because so we didn't mention it, but John C. Reilly starts playing Dewey Cox from like 14 years old, but everyone else around him, apart from Kristen Wiig, is played by 14-year-olds.
So it's the same thing. So his mum goes up to him and she's like, "How are you, my 14-year-old son?" And he's like, "Come on, Mum, not in front of the fellas." and then like when Kristen Wiig is also adult form, and she's like, "I'm going with him. I'm 12 years old."
Yeah, I'm Dewey Cox's 12-year-old girlfriend.
So that's all through it. It's lampshade hanging. Like gratuitous lampshade hanging.
It's like, I forgot to say this at the start, but like, if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. Like,
we've already spoiled the best jokes.
Yeah,
in the
but
ending,
like, if you like this podcast and you like our sense of humor, like this film is like 100% my sense of humor. I find this so funny. I can watch over and over again, and I still like. I'm still laughing out loud. I was just watching it by myself, and I saw it like I said, like 2-3 months ago, and I just watched it again this morning. This afternoon after the poll ended. But yeah, so I do want to quickly point out one of my favorite lines that got me today is when Margot Martindale, who plays his mum, because he loses his sense of smell as like this subplot, which I guess is a parody of Ray being blind, and. Margot Martindale's like, "You gon' smell blind." And the way she says it's so funny. She's like on the verge of tears. And then in the next scene, she's like, "Oh, you learned to play the guitar so well, even without your sense of smell." And he's like, "It's okay, Ma. I learned to play by ear." It's such...
I also really like it's basically like someone poured all the tropes of a musical biopic and made fun of them and like exaggerated them. So one of the things is, of course, like his dad who doesn't approve of him. And when he accidentally kills his brother at the start, his dad's like, "You know what I think? The wrong kid died," which in like an Oscar baity, very serious film would be like this horrific moment that's like devastating, says the character. But he just says it so many times throughout the movie. It'll come back to cuts back to one point. He's like doing something. He's like, "The wrong kid died. The wrong kid died." Like,
and
he's just singing it to
they
himself.
see each other and he's like, "I see it. Wrong kid died."
It's like a throwback to a type of comedy that isn't very prevalent or welcomed anymore.
Yeah, because it's that. I guess I'd call it like an affectionate parody. Like, but at the same time, it's so malicious in everything it does. Like, but it comes from, to be able to take something down as expertly as it has. Yeah, you have to know and love the material. I guess.
Dewey Cox, Mr. Cox. It's time for you to go on. You better hold off, son. Dewey Cox has got to think about his whole life. It's like at the start of the movie, and that's what bookends it, is like him explicitly thinking about his whole life.
Yeah, but so let's talk about this. So this basically killed the musical biopic for a decade. Like,
did it actually kill it, or should it have killed it?
No, it did. Like for at least like a decade. Like there was no because before this we had like The Doors and we had Ray and Walk the Line. It was like quite a popular thing, and then there was like this came out and was like, this is why what you're doing is so stupid. And then so after that, you know, they did like biopics to look like Love and Mercy, the one about Brian Wilson, which has Paul Dano and what's his name? He's got a sister called John Cusack. John Cusack. And playing them at different times. Like, they all sort of had to have a different kind of hook. And then the last 12 months, we've gotten the highest grossing musical biopic of all time in the form of Bohemian Rhapsody, which I've spoken about at length on this podcast, and I'll continue to speak at length about in the future.
Can one of our hardcore listeners out there please do the maths and work out, by the end of the Oscar season podcast we're doing, work out how many minutes we've spent talking about Bohemian Rhapsody? Because I have the secret desire for it to be the most, like, if there's a pie chart of all the films we ever talk about on this podcast, like Bohemian Rhapsody is like the biggest
Bohemian
one.
Rhapsody and 50% is every other film in every film franchise for minutes. So because there's actually been a lot of think pieces and like articles out basically praising Walk Hard and saying like, this is why it killed. There's Rolling Stone did one that I was reading this morning about how essentially it just sort of lists all the things, but like it has let's do a quiz. Which dialogue comes from a parody film? If one of you was hit by a truck and you was lying in that gutter dying, and you had one time to sing one song that people would remember before your dirt, one song that would let God know what you felt about your time here on earth, one song that would sum you up, are you telling me that's the song you'd sing? And the other one is, if somehow you're able to sing a song now, bringing these boys together whom you haven't even met before, and make something so personal, so new, that the whole world takes notice and your life is never the same again, I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know. Which one? They're both ridiculous.
Yeah, the second one is from Walk Hard. First one is from Walk the Line. So, like, I've spoken about this so much already, but there's a series on YouTube. I like, you don't. But it's guy called Ryan George. Check them out if you're interested as well. Ryan George, he's got a real funny YouTube channel. But he does these pitch meetings where he it's him playing a record, movie exec, and a script writer, and he's being like just making movies sound ridiculous essentially. And the one for Bohemian Rhapsody is like, all right, so you've got a biopic for me. He's like, yep. So I was thinking about just take one of the existing biopics and just kind of change the name. He's like, oh, okay, what one did you go for? He's like, Walk Hard. They're like, oh, that's a parody of this. And he's like, oh, whoops. But yeah, and that's the thing is that like, maybe if you haven't seen Walk Hard, you won't find it as egregious. But I was laughing in some scenes of Bohemian Rhapsody because Bohemian Rhapsody starts just before Live Aid, and then they go, Freddie, you're on now, and he's thinking about his whole life, and then it cuts back. It's so funny. Like, yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is a parody of Walk Hard.
Yeah.
But there was one extra joke that I mentioned to you. I picked up another joke that may or may not be intentional, but is very subtle, and it made me laugh because I've since watched Bohemian Rhapsody. But so, Bohemian Rhapsody's gotten a lot of flack for not being truthful. Mm-hmm. And Walk Hard ends with a post-credit scene that says, like, the real Dewey Cox. And it's just John C. Reilly in different makeup singing with a slightly different voice doing it. And because, how, like, every kind of biopic has, like, with a real person.
Yeah.
So it's a major plot point in Walk Hard that Dewey Cox hasn't performed or hasn't picked up a guitar in 30 years. And in the post-credit scene, it's footage of him singing in 2002, 5 years before his thing. So I was like, that's another like way of showing that they made things up in the movie. Yeah, yeah. Like, he actually did this performance in 2002. I
was watching that. I reckon they should have had Seth Rogen be the real Dewey Cox at the end instead of putting different makeup on John C. Reilly, or, someone who's still a celebrity but looks a bit different. Because the way he's singing and everything is very, like, yeah, this is like definitely the real person compared to the Hollywoodized version from the film.
But there's like there's all these. They did a bunch of special features and stuff that are on the DVD, and they kind of were released around the time. But they're like talking about how John C. Reilly is the perfect person to play Dewey Cox, and he's like, I didn't discover him till college. I was like, people, what's this song? They said it's Dewey Cox. And they're like, how have you not heard of him? You are. And it's like, you compare photos of us at the same time. And it's, and then they got like all these like industry people to talk about like just how much they love Cox and stuff like this.
That's cool. I think one thing that I really like about Walk Hard, and it's a similar thing I really liked in Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping. Mm-hmm. And it's more prevalent in Walk Hard, but I'd say like the songs are quite good, and they're not that they are laden with parody, but not as explicitly as you might be expecting. So one thing I really like about Never Stop, Never Stopping is the fuck off song.
Yeah,
it's
which
like
is a deleted scene.
Yeah. But the fuck off in Never Stop, Never Stopping,
which would be a good movie to cover on this podcast. Actually.
Yeah, it would be actually. Or Hot Rod. I love Hot Rod. Hot Rod's my Walk Hard. Yeah. Okay. but the fuck off is like it's like the premise was, let's make a really like accurate sounding pop song and then give it ridiculous lyrics.
Yeah.
So it's if you were to replace the words fuck off with like buzz off,
shut up,
it'd be, because it's like fuck off, and like for the words fuck off to be your lyrical vocal hook in a song is a legitimate thing. You listen to pop songs and there's always like a lot of them anyway have like a phrase that is the malleable line. And in a similar way in Walk Hard, like especially the titular song Walk Hard, nothing's funny about it. Like, it's just a real cool song. They do a couple of sillier songs later. There's one called Let's Duet that's like a bunch of sexual innuendos.
Yeah. And Let Me Hold You, Little Man, which is like standing up for the for little people.
Yeah. But Walk Hard specifically is like, it sounds like a real song, and it reminds me of the first movie we ever did for generic_movie_podcast.exe, which is Josie and the Pussycats, because the songs in Josie and the Pussycats, again, they aren't parodies. They sound like real songs that were from an alternate universe that had the same
where
musical trends.
Blink-182 was all female.
Yeah. It sounds like a real song, and I think that's something that I really like about Walk Hard is that it's realistic songs.
So this was produced by Judd Apatow.
Yeah, and he wrote it as well. He was a screenwriter. Yeah.
I think it was him and Jake Kasdan wrote it, because I think it was Jake Kasdan like had the idea and was like, he's like, let's do a musical biopic, but just it's silly, and Jab was like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Judd Apatow, I saw one of the featurettes I was watching this morning, and he said like the greatest joke in this film is that the songs are fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it builds, because what's so clever about it is that it's like if you were to watch it on, it's almost like if you were like watch it on mute, you wouldn't even recognize it as a comedy.
That's another thing is that Jake Kasdan said that it's about like the cinematography takes it really seriously, but the actors don't. And he said it's like just like someone hijacking an actual biopic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that a lot of effective parody and a lot of comedy that people really cherish, a lot of the reason why it's done so well is because it's still it takes a certain part seriously, because that's funnier than not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you wonder why a film like Walk Hard, I would argue till I'm blue in the face, red in the face or blue in the face, you pick, that Walk Hard is a funnier movie than Scary Movie 3. Right? Yeah. I would argue that, even though you could argue they're similar, they are, but Scary Movie 3 doesn't take its world seriously. Anything can happen, whereas Walk Hard, bar a few, like, extraordinary things, like people getting chopped in half and being able to survive that, like, it takes its world seriously, and the moments it doesn't, where it feels like the facade is breaking, like a character will acknowledge that they're 14 even though they look like they're 45, like that is a that's like a tension release almost. And it's also doing that old technique that is like acknowledge the problem before the audience does so that they can't tell you off for it.
Yeah.
You know?
I do actually want to mention as well, what do you reckon this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I reckon it could be quite low, especially because it was a box office bomb. And, well, I don't know, what is it?
Guess, give me a random.
I'm going to go 40%.
I'd say 74%.
Okay.
So it's actually
cool.
rated higher than Bohemian Rhapsody, for those out there taking score. Yeah, and John C. Reilly actually does all the singing and guitar playing as well, which is really good.
Tell.
He's such a good singer. But yeah, and another thing I was looking at is that, like, so a lot of the songs, like, they have something a little bit silly in them. So like Walk Hard takes itself quite seriously, but I think the Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story is supposed to be, a bit of a dirty joke that hard Cox, you get it.
I see. I've never even put that together before, but sure.
Well, it's supposed to imply, there's something a little bit funny, but I like that they don't lean on his last name being Cox as a joke very much.
They do a couple times.
There's a couple of times, yeah.
If you didn't know, if you were a little kid and didn't know what Cox meant, you wouldn't pick up on it.
Yeah, so like most of the songs have like something that's a little bit silly about them, even if it's just like a parody. But at the end, it ends with this song called "Beautiful Ride," which is Dewey's song that sums up his entire life, and there's nothing funny about it. It's beautiful. It gives me chills. I'm pretty sure I've cried watching it before, and other times. And I was watching the featurette about the guys that wrote it. They said they sort of came in. They had 10 pages of lyrics because they were like doing all this stuff, and they realized like we can't not make this serious. We've actually got the chance to write like a really good song kind of thing, and so that's why that scene is overlaid with heaps of visual comedy because the song is so earnest, and it's like they do earn it by the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like because there are lesser movies that have tried to have a really serious moment at the end, and it doesn't work.
Do you know who does that I've never been a big fan of?
Who?
John Hughes. I feel like John Hughes never balanced comedy with drama well enough for my liking.
Do you know what?
It was always very jarring whenever it got serious.
Have you seen Planes, Trains and Automobiles?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, I watched that like a few days ago for the first time. And because everyone was like, because I'd seen a bunch of comments on Reddit, people were like, I watched that again. It's actually not a comedy. It's real serious. Yeah. And I watched it. Like, I'm not a fan of the straight-laced person gets paired with a real annoying character, and due to the antics of the annoying character, the straight-laced person keeps getting screwed over and nothing bad ever happens to the annoying character genre.
Yeah.
And that's like real, leans on it quite heavily, and then at the end it's like, oh, here's something sad, and it's like, I don't know that I feel that strongly about this.
Yeah, and like that scene where he's like, you know what, I like me, and I remember when I first saw that, I was like, this isn't movie ruining, but it's too much. I don't care enough. Did you?
Yeah, but I didn't care about the character then. I think because I'd seen that scene out of context before, and I was like, oh, this must be this big, powerful speech at the end. And it's like, okay, this is like the first conversation they have. Yeah. But yeah, that was a real interesting film for me to watch. Interestingly, do you know that film, despite there's a scene where over the course of exactly 60 seconds, the F word is used 18 times. Yeah. And it was rated PG in New Zealand, was the only place it was rated PG. Everywhere else it was R.
Yeah, I think that's stupid. Just don't do that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching that being like, what the hell? Like, none of the rest of the movie is like that.
Yeah, that is very strange. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this movie. And so we're speaking about the music. I'd let you know as well, the guys who wrote the music for this, they have a little cameo as his band when he is doing the variety show in the 70s. But they also wrote the music for Get Him to the Greek.
Oh, a similar thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The songs in Get Him to the Greek, maybe a little bit more on the silly side, but they're still serious. And same with Forgetting Sarah Marshall as well. They're still like, they are songs that could exist in the current pop climate.
I think Jason Segel wrote them for Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but these guys wrote. So they wrote like Furry Walls, African Child, and all those. But nice. So AJ, would you let's pitch a sequel. Or what would you like to see?
Oh, where's my sequel?
Yeah.
I didn't think about this at all, actually.
I was trying to think about it because I was like, I'd either like to see, because, spoiler alert, he dies at the end of it. And so you just continue. I'd love to see John C. Reilly playing Dewey Cox again. Maybe it's like, it's a smaller film that's, the untold years that they've just unearthed this thing. That either there, or it's like, what's another genre that needs a takedown like this?
Yeah. That'll be the ways to go with it. Do you have a genre in mind?
No, I was thinking like superhero seems like the obvious one that people are like, get rid of it. But there's superheroes played with so much already that
I would want to do a coming of age takedown. Because
that's a really good one.
Because
actually.
I saw Perks of Being a Wallflower way too late in my life.
Yeah.
To the point where, because I'm a sucker for coming of age. A good coming of age, I think, is really good. But coming of age has to evolve because the tropes of it become so ham-fisted after a while. And Perks of Being a Wallflower, like, literally has a scene where a character, they stand up in the back of a trailer and they're like in a tunnel and they lift their arms out and David Bowie's playing and they've never heard of David Bowie before for some reason. And they're like,
I hate that fucking scene.
And they're like, we are infinite. And that's a line from that movie. We are infinite. And I wish there was a coming of age film that parodied that well enough to have come out before Perks of Being a Wallflower, so we could be having the same conversation that we've just had about Bohemian Rhapsody about Perks of Being a Wallflower, because Perks felt like, I remember watching this and being like, you can't do this anymore. It's too late. This is too garish now to do. So I'd want to do something that parodies something like Timothy Chalamet movies. that would be the angle.
That's a real, and get Timothy Chalamet to play the guy as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a real. This is one of those like rare. Dude, we should write this. The coming of age Dewey Cox, like walk hard version. Yeah, that's so good, man. Perks of Being a Wallflower, man. That was like, I'd heard nothing but good things about that film, and then I watched it and I was like, is everybody fucking high? What? Like, this movie's so stupid.
Yeah. Like, I'm talking, so, okay, there needs to be someone dying from the start, like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Like, there's a doomed main character. There's a...
it's got to have voiceover.
Yeah, there's got to have voiceover. It's got to have like moments where a character moves in slow motion to a song that is iconic because of the film. Like, I'm talking like Lady Bird's another example. Like,
some of them are great, and that's the thing about Walk Hard is that I don't think they're saying all of these films are terrible.
No,
they're saying these tropes are tired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so there you go. There's my dude.
Oh, dude, that's so good. What would you call it?
They've all got such
like the Perks of Being a Wallflower is like a classic pretentious name.
Yeah,
but you need also like be able to come across that this is maybe not your average.
The unsolicited history of Darren Jensen. Like, so, there you go. It's like you could because that's like a decade old that plot. That title structure, whereas now it's more like Call Me By Your Name or Beautiful Boy or Lady Bird. They're quite affectionate.
Eighth grade.
Yeah, quite things that evoke a nostalgic quality to them. So to be called like
taking down like 90s nostalgia.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Please and Thank You is a title.
Yeah. That's such a good idea. I really like that.
Fresh Boy, that's what it's called.
And you could even have like your I'm just leaving high school, but I'm like clearly 28.
Yeah. Nice. Good stuff. We did it.
Some good. There's some tasty.
And only our cult leader patrons can know about this idea as well.
Yeah, so if it gets made, we have a list of who.
Cool.
Yeah, so AJ, what are your like happy place films?
The Mummy. The Mummy is one that's like, my brother watched it so much when we were kids that like it's not even annoying if I see it every day now.
Yeah. Like,
it's just something that can fade into the background for me. I'm talking, of course, about Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Not Boris Karloff's.
No, the Brendan Fraser one. And similarly, the Mummy Returns. So that those are options. I really like. I get a lot of shit for this these days, but 500 Days of Summer, which I've gone on record
you
before
would.
saying is one of my favorite movies, but that's one I can watch at any time. I think, just because I enjoy so much of what makes it up. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is probably another one as well. I've seen
nice.
that quite a lot of times.
Same, yeah.
Let me think. I don't know. It'd be all my favorite movies. Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit and things like that. I think are all ones that really speak to me and that I enjoy showing people them. So it's not like a chore to watch. I've watched Sorry to Bother You 3 times in the last few months. I saw it once at the theaters, then once at a free screening, and then once last night with some friends. And I was like, I love this movie, but I don't want to see it again for a while. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. It's a good. Walk Hard is a very good movie.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I'd say it's another one of those ones that like I'd categorize with when we covered the Scream series, or even Ready Player One, how we acknowledged that it was like the like we're sad to admit that this is a very fair representation of what our podcast is the Ready Player One film. Like I'd put it in that category of like, if you want to be on board, if you want to understand what we're like, I'd say Walk Hard is a really good movie to understand why we find what we find funny. And
also, like, if you saw Bohemian Rhapsody and you were like, best film I've seen since The Greatest Showman, watch Walk Hard and you'll see why I don't like it.
Yeah.
And also because it's a bad film.
I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I mentioned to my new flatmates that I needed to watch it, and before they could talk about how they liked it, I said, I heard it's real bad.
Nice.
So we'll see how it goes when I finally watch it.
I don't know. Part of me wants you to like it, but I also know that you're too smart for that.
Oh, thank you. I think I am too.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't know.
Like I watched there was like a clip on Twitter that was like, this film's nominated for best editing, and it was Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's like just a scene of them talking. It's so you can look out for it. It's like they're on like a waterfront and they're at like a table outside, and it's like people will just like walk into shot that like should have been visible in a shot earlier, and like all this kind of stuff, and like it just cuts to reaction shots at the randomest times. And yeah, there was like, all these people being like, even if you're not an editor, you should be able to tell this is terrible editing. Yeah, the basic understanding of what an editor does. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, are we done? I think so. Walk Hard. Watch it. Go watch it. I love it so much. I've got the soundtrack. I used to have it in my car, and I would just blast it all the time. Okay, thank you very much for listening to this, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed this little sample pack. We will be back next week with the return of Film Franchise Fortnights. But until then, if you enjoyed these 2 exclusive Patreon episodes, why not sign up to our Patreon? For as little as $1 a month, you can support the Cult Popture podcast and get rewards such as telling us which franchises we should cover, or any of these podcasts that you've just heard. Or you can also join our movie club, where we discuss a film together once a month, and it's recorded on Zoom, and then we post it to Cult Popture 2, the YouTube channel where we post anything that doesn't quite fit the main channel, such as this podcast you're listening to. If you can't support us monetarily, that is all good. Why not join the Discord and come say hi? There's a link to that in the show notes. You can also like our Facebook page. You can subscribe to us on the Cult Popture channel as well as Cult Popture 2. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and you can email us at cultpopturemedia@gmail.com. So do all these things, and that's enough for us. We just want to know that our content hasn't been thrown out into the void. It doesn't have to be with money that you support us. It can be with your friendship. So get on all those things, and we'll see you guys next week.